Cool. Yeah. Yeah, prepared a lot of stuff today. Few slides, but you can ask questions. We can look into code, into anything if you want. Feel free to ask anytime. And otherwise, I will just explain stuff and so on. And I even got 2 awesome extras today. Maybe they are awesome, maybe not. You decide at the end. So, what editor do I use? I usually use like VS Code for MPF stuff. So, I can show you that. So, that's what I use for MPF with the MPF language server. So, I guess I showed this earlier, but I can show it again. So, for example, if you got like a server config here, it can do stuff like autocomplete or the available options here, right? So it knows most of this. I mean, it knows most of the options, not all of them. So this is basically best effort style. So if something isn't parsing, it doesn't know the option and so on. And certain stuff isn't auto-completable, but most of it. For example, like reset events, and now it can even, this takes a little bit of time, it can even autocomplete all the available events in this machine which I got loaded here. For example, like, I don't know, volume decreased, increased. I mean, here's some placeholders which should be like extended, but they are not for some reason. It's not perfect, but it knows, like, for example, all the switches here. Door open, active, inactive. That's what it knows. So that's why I use this for like for writing my configuration, and for writing like for like hacking MPF, I use like PyCharm. This PyCharm is like IntelliJ, but yeah, let's check the Python version. Do I run build tests directly from VS Code? From PyCharm usually. So if I, like, for example, in MPF, I run the test directly from PyCharm. Yeah, Quinn is right. So JetBrains offered us like an open source version of the full like of PyCharm, or of probably any. I guess this license will work for any JetBrains project. So that's super cool from them, and that offers a little bit more additional functionality. And you can you can take this test case here, and now you can just click run, and this it works pretty well if you just run one test, right? If I want to run like all the tests, I usually like the CLI. Just use like this, like I do like MPF unit. That's just quicker. And as my local environment contains some changes, there will probably be also a failing test in a minute. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, totally. Like even the free version, like I think it's called Community Edition. Even that one is sufficient for everything I do, at least. I think there's some stuff, but that's more like related to web frameworks, which requires like a commercial license. So yeah, that's like the unit tests here. They take a little bit longer if we're streaming. Otherwise, it's like more like 20 seconds. No, it's like 50. But still working. Oh, really? They do? That's interesting. Are there still plans for a UI tool for the configs? That's a good question. I know that John wanted to create one, but and I think he also started with that, but he never really got this past like a proof of concept stage. So as usual, like developing UIs in open source projects is like not the most loved activity, just in my opinion. So that's yeah, not sure. So what you did with like a virtual pinball engine is like it's super cool. It's awesome. I like it. So currently all we got is like this language server stuff for the autocomplete of like events and all the configuration stuff, but not for like clicking stuff with blocks. Like I don't know if you know Siemens logo. That's like where you can click all those blocks together, or like Lego has also like Lego Creator Series. I also got this tool where you can click blocks together and then connect the inputs and outputs. That would certainly be possible for MPF, but so nobody took this challenge yet, at least. So if you want to take it on, you're welcome. But I don't see anybody working on it at the moment. So yeah, yeah, cool that you are joined, guys. Thanks for all the questions. Keep them coming if you have more. I can also show you what I prepared a little bit. So I prepared like some slides, and I actually looked in like what did change since 054, which is like last November somewhere when we branched it off, and I expected it to be like just a few features, because my perception was like that not much changed like this year, but at the end, like I got like 15 slides of changes, so so it's a lot, and I will go over a lot of it quickly. But apparently, a lot of people contributed, and a lot of stuff actually changed. So what I got is like the recent change first. Basically, is a lot of service mode changes. So I added a new placeholder for default pulse milliseconds that allows you to like configure the default pulse time for your coil in service mode. And then James did a lot of changes in service mode, like categories for settings, so that you got like standard adjustments, game adjustments, I don't know, whatever you want. Like you can choose your categories for your machine. And then audits for like event switch player. We had this before, but we didn't show it in service mode, and he added that. That's super awesome. And like we have earning audits now, so you can see your earnings in service mode. And then on a request, I added a slide for like the volume change. So like if you open the door and press up down, then MPF changes the volume, and before it just changed the volume, but we didn't show a slide by default, and that has been added now also. And then yeah, I added like reset for all the high scores, credits, earnings, audits. So that's also like that completes like this operator the operator needs. So that's really cool. I guess you can have so much more in service menu or in service mode, like I don't know, various servo test modes and so on, like you get on Stearns, for example. And over time there will be more, but I guess now it's like that you can have a machine which is serviceable in the field with what we got. So there's nothing important missing, in my opinion. But let me know if you're missing anything specific. But as you see, like James is like the first contributor I'm naming here. He did most of the UI work or the slides or the new menus. So it's all on him. That's super cool. Yeah, so we also got stuff like hardware related. That's we did like some stuff related to end of stroke switches, and that's like we apparently did not properly support end of stroke switches with the P and P3 rock for some reason, and nobody complained about it apparently, but we added it now. Now it should work fine. And a feature which is especially for me, it's huge. It's like end of stroke repulse in software, and that means like when your flipper is up and holding, and like a fast ball is pushing it down, we will in software detect that the end of stroke opened, and we repulse your flipper fingers, and that allows you like to reduce the hold power and thereby like the thermal output of the coil, and also like the overall stability of your machine. I mean, there have been incidents with certain manufacturers which had like thermal issues because of this problem, and MPF now has like an out-of-the-box solution for like every hardware. It's emulated in software unless the hardware can do it. Like it's only Spike at the moment which can do this in hardware. Yeah, then like minor stuff for Open Pinball project, like we turn up our lives on startup. That hasn't been there before. New firmware support with new planks for like metrics. That's like coil, like lamp metrics. So they added lamp metrics plank, and we got like a low latency mode for serials, and we benchmarked like the Open Pinball project, and like they got like a latency like 6-7 milliseconds over USB serial. That's really good. And yeah, then Win is currently finishing the hardware platform for the new Penny K pinball platform. That's awesome. Yeah, looking forward to that. There's like a few more upcoming, like it's like the hardware from Ben Heck, like the Pino Tower, that's also upcoming. I got like a prototype board here. I can show you in a minute of that, and currently the final version is in the post, so I will like have it in like 2 or 3 weeks, and then we will get like final support for the Pino Tower board also. There's also like from the guys doing the Mafia pin, they did the Mafia pin. They are also like working on an MPF platform or MPF platform support for their stuff. That's super awesome, and they're using the Lizzie protocol mostly, I think, and that's also partially working already, and that's super cool. So there's a lot of hardware upcoming. It's super exciting time for the framework, and yeah, like there's more in a minute because Quinn added hardware. And on this one, last one is like better light batching. So that's like when we send a lot of light updates to hardware, we usually, not in all hardwares, but in most hardwares, we batch the updates for throughput optimization reasons. And that got increased, like, it got like improved a lot. So like the Open Pinball project guys, they debugged really a lot of edge cases there, and we fixed them all. So that should like increase the light throughput of your machine, because a lot of platforms with a lot of light, if you got a lot of lights in your machine, can actually saturate the bus with light updates, and this should like half the number of updates sent to your hardware in most of the cases. So that should really help a lot. Can you tell me the built-in MPF Linter? Yes, sure. That's true. That's possible. So like the linter, which we got is like, let's take a config file like here, and that's MPF format actually. So like you can do MPF format on the configuration, and it will tell me like that I messed up and it's not how it wants it because there are like spaces which it doesn't like. I mean, it's still a valid YAML and it's okay, but now I can just say MPF format, yes, and it will just you can see it. It will just fix the file, right? And if I run it again, it's now happy. Now this will probably complain that I changed the file to this, but we'll just change it back. But that's how it works. That's super simple. It does MPF format your file, and it formats it according to MPF's likings. So that's slightly opinionated. So Mike wants to know, does the EOS need to be on the same board as the flipper cabinet switch for fast hardware? No, because we do it in software. So it's actually like if you run the MPF hardware benchmark, which I showed like in previous streams, that's basically the latency you will see for that switch. So for like the Open Pinball project would be like 7 milliseconds roughly. For the PROC it's like 16. I guess for fast it would be also like around 10 something. We can benchmark this in the next few weeks. I guess I will have a fast system here and we will have a look at it, and we can probably also benchmark it. But for like, even if it's like 30 milliseconds, that's not an issue for like for the flipper finger, right? So as a player, 30 milliseconds, just, I mean, it goes down a little bit and it will move up again. That's probably not noticeable, not by a lot. I mean, if you're a professional player, you will just notice that the bar slightly bumps, but it's not that it's a lot. And even in Spike, you can see that if you're really looking closely. I mean, if you take like a high-speed camera, like every mobile phone has it now, right? Then you can clearly see that how it's working, but should be the same here. I mean, at least it shouldn't hurt at all, so I would just configure it. So yeah, I mean, it's super simple feature from the user as a user, and yeah, it's available to all the platforms now. So something which I basically showed like in the last stream on Servos is like we got like this new stop events, which basically turns off the servo. Otherwise, like a servo keeps its position, and if you stop the servo, you can freely move it. And that's, as Coleman found out, it's really useful to have that in pinball machines, because otherwise, if a ball is stuck behind a servo, it will keep pushing until like the servo like burns at some point and then breaks. So maybe we will even have. I thought about adding some more support on it, like that. If you set a servo, that it just goes there, and after I don't know a certain time, it turns off. So you configure like go to position I don't know 90 degree, and then after 10 seconds turn off, so that we reduce the risk of you breaking your servo, like if there's a jam for unexpected jam. Yeah, then we also stop the servos by default when we shut down the machine. So that's I think it makes sense, but we didn't do that before. So yeah, I mean that we should have done that before, I guess. Yeah, so that's that. And for the PROC, you can set like the minimum value that was missing. I also showed that last time. And now we come to the shiny stuff. So that's segment displays, and that's actually an area where a lot of stuff happened. And this is basically, I guess this got like started because Fast Pinball built a new hardware, which looks like this here on the screen. So it's an RGB segment display, and which basically it's done. It's just a finished board. You just have to screw it into your machine. And that, yeah, right, as you can see, that it can have full RGB color, and Anthony added support for it in MPF, so that's super cool. And while doing that, he added support for coloring single segments in the segment displays. And I extended like the RGB LED platform, so we got a platform where you can take arbitrary lights in your machine, any RGB LEDs, for example, and turn them into a segment display. And that also supports now this new interface which Anthony created. Additionally, like Pinball Live just basically created like a new version of this TNA segment display, the long one with like 4 segment displays, I think, which is like in the newer version of TNA, and that has reused like an existing interface. That's the MyPinballs interface, and they added like a new flashing mode where just the match, basically just the last digit flashes, or the last 2. I'm not sure, either one. So that has been also added, and so we got a lot of segment display stuff. And now it gets even weirder, even cooler, because Quinn then went a little bit crazy on this and really like created animations and stuff. So we now got like transitions for segment displays, so that you can fade in and fade out like texts, which they can they can expand from the middle, or they can basically go in, and they can move in from left and to right. So thanks to Quinn, that's possible, and it's super awesome. And he did even more, like it's like a virtual segment player in the MC now, so you can have like same to like the virtual here the virtual DMD which I got there. There's now a virtual segment player for segment displays, so that's super cool. So that you can like have it on your virtual machine, or on your, if you run it with virtual hardware, then you can still see the segment displays. It's awesome. Where those 16 segment displays, that's okay. Yeah, I think the like 16 versus 14 is like the top basically line. That's either 2 or 1, right? And on 13 segments it's 1, and on 16 it's 2, and then same on the bottom of the digit. So so like we're currently adding like segment display support in the virtual pinball engine, like as a visual a simulation tool, and that also only has like 14 segments at the moment. Yeah, I guess like it's hardware related, right? I don't know if the fast hardware actually supports 16 segments. Like the MPF platform does it. So the MPF, like the RGB DMD, can definitely do it. Okay, Freezy says he can do it good too. But I think the example you sent me has like 14 segments. But yeah, there's like a lot of different mappings also, like in different hardwares, and they are called differently. Sometimes A is this one, or sometimes it's this one. Yeah, so I guess everything is possible everywhere. Just you just need to decide on what you actually want. And MPF knows like a lot of mappings, and you can map that, and even like internally your segment display players do not change, so they are still the same. And additionally, what I just didn't mention is that Quinn also added like custom flashing pattern, which are currently only supported, I think, in fast. So even the RGB DMD light stuff doesn't support that yet, but it could be added if we wanted. So that there you can say like flash the first, the third, and the 10th segment if you want. It's nice, but like it's currently not supported by a lot of hardware. So this is super awesome, and that's really a lot of changes in the background. So I'm super grateful for that. So that Quinn did all that. Maybe we have to do something on segment displays in the future, because there's so much to show now. Then we got like some stuff on ball handling, and like like some machines are currently like going in production, like the Haggis stuff, and they often come up with good ideas on where our defaults are not that great. And one of them is like that we now only trigger ball search on startup of the machine if there's at least one ball. And the reason for that is like if you got the machine on a tipper somewhere without balls, and you start up the machine and it will start ball search, it might actually just hurt you, right? Because those coils got a lot of power. And I mean, if there's no ball, that's usually for a reason. If there are like only 2 balls, then it makes sense to search the 3rd ball, but it doesn't make sense if there's 0. And only if you press start, it will start the ball search initially. So that's I think that's a great trade-off. And I think the same what Stern does on their machines. Yeah, then like we respect enable inverters. So like if you disable them, we won't use them before they just turned on anyway. So that's actually like more like a bug, but now it actually works how it's supposed to work. And then Anthony added something which is interesting. It's like a relay event where you can change the target for a ball which is rejected. So you can say, well, you can have an event handler, usually in code, but theoretically also in config, where you can decide this ball will go somewhere else because of some logic, because I guess he needs this in his machine, but it's a great feature in my opinion. Yeah, now like a small interlude here. I got like something funny. The tool of the day. What's the tool of the day? The tool of the day is just, that's the tool of the day. Everybody should have one of this. It's like a Molex crimper. Basically, I guess it's a cheap one. It's like 15 bucks. But you should have that. It's just my tool of the day. And that's end of commercial. Yeah, then to the next area, to something different. It's like performance. So we got like a lot of changes for which affect performance somehow. At first is like it's also like driven by those machines going to production. Like we now load all config upfront. So like there's like a config loader stage in code which loads all the configuration. It does not validate everything, but it just makes sure that everything is there and everything passes basically. So it's valid YAML basically. And that has 2 reasons. First, we can cache it, and that you might notice that if you start MPF the second time, it's a lot faster because it cached your configurations. And the second is like that we can have production bundles. So you can have MPF production, that's a command. It will create you one bundle. It's just one file. And if you run MPF with the production flag, it will only read this bundle and nothing else. All the configuration is not needed anymore. Everything is in this bundle, and this speeds up start by a lot. So if you just want to put it on Raspberry Pi or any embedded system, that's what you want usually. We also like import and load a lot of, or we do not load stuff basically. If you're not using like any diverter in your machine, we won't load the diverter code. We won't even import it. So that's also like for embedded systems that increases or that improves startup times, so they get shorter. We also do not install that. That's probably something a lot of people actually experience is like we do not no longer install the default the optional dependencies. So like there are a lot of dependencies like for like protobuf for like the visual pinball engine, like all this text UI which has like tons of dependencies, and on embedded systems you do not want all that. So by default we do not install that anymore. And maybe you noticed that the text UI is not there on a fresh install, and if you still want that, use this command here. That's like MPF install and pip3 install MPF brackets all. Then we install all dependencies. There's also like CLI or like pin2DMD because that has additional dependencies and so on. So you can choose your dependencies, and the default should just work. I mean, it's not that anything is missing. It will complain if you need to install more for your particular hardware, like the PROC needs like libpinproc. It already complains about that, and it will do this for some other hardwares which are not super common. But that improves like performance, and it makes it a lot easier to ship games with MPF. That's the reason for that. What else do we have? It's like small stuff. Something from today. We had so like what we changed is that shots act. So if you hit a switch in a shot, it marks the playfield as active. And then MPF started to complain if you had the playfield active tag on this switch, which is like unexpected and kind of annoying for some people. And I just removed that again because I agree it's annoying. Then like we added MPF hardware benchmark. That allows you to benchmark your hardware on your machine. So like it measures the latency between your hardware and your PC. It's useful to see if you got USB issues or any timing issues, or like, I don't know, a strange antivirus is messing with your USB or something. And it will tell you if your setup is fine or not. Then we got like power supply unit management for enable events. That's basically what MPF does is like if we pulse coils, we try not to pulse them all at once because that stresses your power supply unit. And generally they will just be a little bit weaker if you pulse like 3 coils at once. And the classic thing is like if you reset all your drop targets at once, what happens is that they won't come up, because like if you reset 10 coils, there won't be enough power left anymore in your power supply units. And in switching power supply units, they might even turn off. That's a little bit annoying. And you probably noticed that early Spike had these issues, right? Where the power supply turned off when the game was running. And MPF also doesn't want to cause that. So we basically serialize those pulses within a certain bound. So like in a drop target, you got like, I think 100 milliseconds for MPF, where it can just delay the pulse by 100 milliseconds. And now we got the same for enable events, because they initially also pulse the coil. It gets pulsed and then it's hold. You obviously do not do this for flippers, right? That would be bad. But we do this for like ball devices, because some ball devices also use enable to eject the ball. And that caused issues in some machines where actually the ball wouldn't come out of the trough in certain scenarios. So that has been added. Should make machines a little bit more reliable. Then like we only report drop target up and down events once anymore. So previously it has been like in certain scenarios when you restarted the mode, it would report the up again. No longer does that. And like a new safety feature is you can now set the max hold duration for coils. So you can say this coil, no matter what happens, never turn it on for more than like 10 seconds, because I don't know, it might burn after that. Or like if you got a flasher, never turn it on for more than like 100 milliseconds. And then MPF will just watch that and turn it off again, and then also log a warning and add a tag alert for the service menu. So that, I mean, it's not that a technician can do anything, but at least somebody will or might notice about the issue. Then I got like some Misc stuff, which is not clearly in any category, which is like small features from some contributor, like every added timeouts for logic blocks. So you can have a counter, and you can just have a timer. You say, like, well, the counter has to complete in 10 seconds. If not, reset it and stop it. So that's a simple feature. And if you want advanced timer logic, use a normal timer. But if you just want a timeout, which is pretty common, I guess, you can have that now. Anthony added like show player updates, so you can change the speed of a show at runtime. It's nice. And then he also added persist frame for images, so that the last frame, so if you can move an image to a certain frame, so like an animated image, so the second frame or third frame, and if you remove it and edit again, it will stay at that particular frame if you set persist frame to true. That's also a nice feature, and it's used like for, I think, also some animated score reels, which he built with animated images in the MC. Then we allow like this for disabling displays that can be useful for having like an additional display in your MC for development and then turning it off in production. And then MPF won't render it anymore. That is performance improvement, ordinary, and also done by Anthony. So he did like a lot of stuff, a lot of small improvements. Yeah, we support state machines in non-game modes now. And we exposed like all the tilt stuff for slides, so you can like have tilt warning reminder on slides and like how much time there is until tilt settled, or MPF considers the tilt settled. And yeah, in light groups we got like the channel syntax. We didn't have that before, but I guess not a lot of people except me are using light groups. But if you do, you can now use the channel syntax there too. And then Freezy's topic here, that's like the virtual pinball engine. And that's like, I mean, the visual pinball engine. I always say virtual. The visual pinball engine, which is like the successor of virtual pinball, like VPX. And that's like a Unity simulation framework with like the same awesome physics engine as VPX, but with awesome graphics. And also like a smooth integration with MPF where you can map your switches in a nice UI. So it's super cool. You should check out his videos. It's still beta, so that's not like a finished simulator, but I guess it will be finished. No, it will never be finished, but it will be like ready in the near time. I don't know. Easy can probably tell us how long it will take, but soon. It already looks great. It can do like DMDs already, so MPF can like display the DMD in virtual pinball engine. Yes, Max. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, you can probably play with it soon. So it can actually render DMDs, and they look really awesome. It can do lights, RGB lights, it can do switches, it can do coils, it can do real hardware rules, which is huge compared to virtual pinball, so VPX, because they are this round trip basically. So you would push your switch, it would round trip to MPF, and MPF would enable the coil, and that induced just latency. And now it's like it's done inside virtual pinball engine, and that's really awesome for like latency. So it should like feel a lot smoother as a player if you play it. Yeah, had an awesome editor by Freezy, and the integration has also done by Freezy. It's like an gRPC interface, like segment displays coming soon. So I got some stuff locally, but I have to finish it and test it properly. So that will be next. So I'm really looking forward to that. That will be great. Yeah, and that's basically what I got from features. So that's basically what we did since the beginning of the year, and in my opinion, it's a lot. I expected like to have like 5 features or something, but it's actually a lot. So I'm pretty happy about that. So next hardware I want to tackle is basically, I can show you that, is this. That's like does it have focus? Maybe. So like that's basically a stepper controller, and we got some stepper control in MPF, but it's not that great yet. And for that reason, I bought a stepper controller. I already had the PD LED, which also works, but then you got that many boards laying around on your desk. So I bought this Polydor controller, and I will play with that next, and we'll add a few more features in MPF for steppers. And then we can control like those steppers, which are usually used in like 3D printers. So that yeah, that will be next. Just a little teaser here. On request, I just added the block function to the sound player. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that. So yeah, So we got like this generic blocking stuff for events, but I guess nobody uses that, right? And it's probably also not working for the MC at the moment. So for sound player, yeah, that's nice. I think we had that earlier for shots, right? And I somehow turned that into like a generic thing where you can block arbitrary events propagating down to modes. And I think it's called block player or something, so it's probably not the greatest name, but it exists. Block event player is how it's called, and that can actually let me find some example config. And we do not even have some. It's called blocking. Let's grab for it. It's in test machine blocking events. Okay, here. So if you want to do it like generically, you can use you can use basically this. So the blocking setting will block this event to all lower priority modes in general. So that's so here I had the same in all my test modes here. And I think it also knows categories, so you can have categories where you block it, and you can have like everything. And I'm not sure if it's documented very well. I'm not sure if it will work for sounds, but that works like generically for everything in MPF. It's probably not well known and not well documented, I guess. So we could do about that something about that. I think yeah. And what's left is I got like the unloved stuff like bug fixes, and that's apparently not so much. I expected it to be the other way around. So like a few features and a lot of bug fixes, but actually it's just few bug fixes and a lot of features. So what we fixed is like we fixed like crashes in service mode or around service mode, and that's basically if you, for example, start service mode during tilt, then bad things happen. No, not any longer, but happen. Same if you started during match and so on, like basically during game ending, that caused issues. And there were some crashes, and we found them with fuzzer actually. So that's not somebody reported them because it's like unlikely that they do that at that place. But that's fixed, and that should hopefully be it. But I mean, eventually there will be more crashes somewhere. And also probably also important for a lot of guys is like we fixed a few ball device crashes also like recently, also with a fuzzer. I found them with a fuzzer like in certain jam conditions. Some are really unlikely, like if you two balls return at exactly the same time. So they have to be in the same tick in the hardware. So it's relatively unlikely, but it's not impossible. That crashed, that's fixed. And in certain jam conditions, we actually miscounted stuff. That's really bad. It's not. I mean, yeah, some people actually got that at some point, but we couldn't like reproduce it earlier. So it's super nice that we found that. So like a race with mechanical eject, so like with the plunger, you plung the ball without it hitting the switch, and it before jammed and failed once, then it could crash. So it's rather complicated procedure, but we also like found this with the fuzzer, and that's fixed now. And we got like a long-standing bug, which I personally had in my machine like more than once, like probably quite a few times. It's like that on startup we sometimes incorrectly counted balls when you had like an entrance switch, and I had that in my machine quite a few times, and that I think somebody complained about it, and then we debugged it, and I think I also used the fuzzer again because I didn't find it earlier, and the fuzzer found it with like an like a procedure where the ball had to go forth and back and prevent counts for sometimes with rigging switches constantly. But that's where fuzzer is really good. He can find crashes or like even unlikely events. But in pinball, everything will eventually happen. Like a ball will get stuck anywhere eventually, and that's fixed. So I'm happy about that. So in my opinion, with like most of the standard setups, there shouldn't be any crashes or weird ball counting in MPF anymore. And hopefully that's it. But in half a year, there will be the next bug for sure. What else do we have? Like, show pools did not work. So where you can have multiple shows in a pool. Every fixed that. That's awesome. Thanks. And Andrew fixes an interesting bug where actually when the machine was tilted and it was above the maximum tilts, it would still count the tilts. So you could go on and tilt it, and then it had like 20 tilts, even if the maximum was like 3. So, I mean, that didn't do anything, but still it looked weird on slides. And sometimes I think if you got a tilt bar, it just went to the other side. And I fixed the numlock key on the MC. That's also like an annoying bug, which, well, a lot of newcomers actually tripped over this one, where like Kiwi actually added numlock to any key, not just the keys on the numlock pad. So like an A with numlock as a modifier. So that's unexpected, and that's now fixed. And last slide on this one. I told earlier that I added low latency mode, and then I fixed that it crashed on all the platforms which didn't have low latency mode, or like if you do not run MPF as root on certain Linux distributions, then that's not working, and MPF crashed, and like some series didn't support it, so it crashed. And so I fixed that. Like some Open Pinball OPP version checks for older firmwares were broken. That's fixed. We actually found an interesting bug on the P-Rock, where like the P-Rock and the P3 Rock use like exactly the same interface. It's like LibPinProc, it's a library. And we did exactly the same on the P-Rock and the P3 Rock, and it worked on the P3 Rock, but not on the P-Rock. On the P-Rock, instead of pulsing a coil, it would be stuck on when you have hold power below 1. So that's really unexpected. But luckily, it's probably something they fixed in a later firmware version. But luckily, we found the bug and it's fixed now. But it's kind of unexpected. And then we fixed like a class of bugs where we got like polarity wrong. So like polarity is like on WPC, coils are default like high. So that when an input and output is off, it would be like a high voltage on an output of the driver. And on others, like on system 11 or so, it would be low. And that's really different. And we got that wrong like quite a few times. And at the end, we just decided to go with what LibPinProc provided and be happy with our lives again. So that's also fixed, and hopefully forever, unless it's a bug in LibPinProc, so it's no longer a bug in MPF. And that's basically all the bug fixes. So everything should be bug free now. I'm not even believing that myself, but one thing which I just wanted to highlight is that we got like a lot of contributors, and that's not even like the contributors which contributed to the documentation. That's just who contributed to MPF and MPF MC. So that's like quite a few people, and so it's like a team effort in general. So thanks guys for all those contributions. Keep them coming. It's really helpful. And yeah, there will be more hopefully. Yeah, that's like, and even for the docs, they're like I don't know, 5-6 people every month contributing to the docs in some way, and that's really awesome, and that makes like the whole framework good for the community and for all of us, hopefully. Yeah, that's it. If you got any more questions, if you want to see anything of what I just told you, I can also show you stuff. Thanks for joining in. That's super nice. Happy about that. Any strategies to easily find orphaned events that are declared but never used? Like event handlers or events which you post. So I guess it's not that we got a tool for that. And like the MPF language server kind of knows both. It knows which event handlers exist and it knows which events are actually posted. So it can tell you that like this event handler actually there's no event for it. But it's not like that it's 100% certain, right? So like if you just emit this event in code and do not annotate it with a comment, so like we got the comment to tell MPF that this is this code emits a certain event. That's also what we show in the documentation. If you do not do that, then obviously it doesn't know that. So it's not a perfect tool. It knows like 95% of all the events. And we could build this based on that. So we could actually add like it's how it's called, like like a markup in the language server, right? So we could like here, we could have like if I have like an event here and now I put this, it could now, it knows. Is it now pulse events? Yeah. For example, it doesn't know my test events, but it knows certain events. So my test events are coming from, I think, from here. So like, for example, it doesn't know those because that's something I didn't add. But it knows like other events, so it knows those events. And it could actually underline it here if it doesn't know the event, right? That would be possible. And we could also do it like the other way around. So like that if I post an event here and it knows that it's actually posting an event, which it doesn't. But if we edit it, we could say, well, there's no event handler for test event 6. That would be actually possible. A little bit of coding here, but could be possible. Yeah, stream on display segment. Yeah, definitely. I guess I will do that. I have to see what I actually got, because I actually got like almost nothing. I got one little segment and it's not even RGB. But yeah, I probably can get some. And yeah, I can show how you can wire them, how they work. Also how Quinn's awesome segment display player works. I'm interested in that also because I didn't do much with it yet. I only play with it like virtually. Yeah, definitely. I also will do like a stream on how to unit test your machine, because like that's something which is super useful in my opinion. So like you change your configuration and then you can just run a unit test over your machine, which like tests your typical modes and if they still work, or just check if they're crashing, if they're counting correct. Just that you do not have to test it manually all the time. So I use that in my machine a lot. And yeah, that would be also something I might do. Like, I'm not sure, maybe I will do like steppers next week, or I will do like, I will maybe hack a little bit on steppers before, so to add a few more features. because currently you can just move them, and that's boring. No, I mean that's what they're supposed to do. But maybe I will do like unit tests next week on Wednesday, and then yeah, I will look into that and announce it on the usual channels. So yeah, do you have any other wishes, what you want to see? Where I mean, I can even like I can prepare like a stream on a lot of stuff. That's also like useful for the documentation. I will later use those videos to upload them to YouTube and then put them into the documentation as like tutorial for people looking like on segment displays for the first time, or for on unit tests in your machine. So that's the general idea. Like probably not this video because it's more like an update. It will be outdated like in half a year. Old-fashioned backglass displays. What's an old-fashioned backglass display? That's like an LCD display, or what is old-fashioned by now? Or would that be just like with real bulbs for all the scores? But I mean, sure. Yeah, DMD, sure. Why not? I can do something. Yeah, I can do something about DMD. For displays, okay, that would be like segment displays then, like the typical segment, the 4 segment displays and some lights for the balls and so on, credits, right? Yeah, sure, we can also do that. So DMDs, yeah, definitely, that would also be something on my list. I got like the fast DMD, which is I think it's available now, but it's definitely like a nice display. And I got like the Pinto DMD, which I showed like a few weeks ago. That's also, yeah, but I also wanted to show like the fast DMD because it's a nice little board which works really well internally. Okay, how to tips and tricks when tracing really large log files and trying to trace game logic. Yeah, I mean that's a non-trivial problem in my opinion. In general, put debug on all the devices you're interested in. You can also like do something like this. I'm not sure if we can autocomplete it. It's like there's like an MPF section, and in the MPF section there's something like logging. To check it. Now I need a different file. There's actually something, it's called, it's just called logging. Okay, so what we can do is like, you can do you cannot autocomplete unfortunately, but this is how it looks. So you can have, in a logging section, you can configure like the default log level for all the areas in MPF. And if something spams you, you can just turn it off. So if you say, well, for example, I don't care about any asset management or the ball search ball controller, you can turn that off and only enable like, I don't know, certain stuff, right? And that might help in certain situations. I sometimes do that. In general, like use like a good log file grabbing tool, like a good log file search tool that helps in a lot of ways. Sometimes, I mean, it's simply tricky. What I often do is like I use like a simple command line tool. It's called MPF Test. It's super simple. I have a test file. And what it does is actually, I'll show that the best way. It can just have a single file which contains your complete machine. So I'll show you an example somewhere. So what I try to do is like to build a minimal example where I got my issue, or where the issue still exists. And this could be something like where do I have an example? Yeah, for example, like this. So this is basically the configuration here, and we can often see, like if we click in the so this is what we show in documentation, and you can click here, and it will show you more. And this is actually how we test this documentation, this small snippet, and that's what I use. I take this configuration, test txt, put it in here, and now we can do MPF test this file, and MPF will now run this one file. Can also run -v, and it will show the log for this particular file. And then, for example, I got like one mode only, has an extra wall, and we test that certain extra wall starts based on a certain score. So, or is awarded based on a certain score. And here you can basically say, post this event, set the player variable to something, change the switch. And that's basically useful to create a self-contained test for this problem. And if you crash it here, it's also easier to fix, right? So then I can just run this test case, make a change in code, and see if this test case passes. And we even got like a folder in MPF which called like regression tests. So it's like here, this where we just put regression tests. So when we created such a test, which should work, but it doesn't, and then we can later make sure that this still works. So this is also a simple test with like some subprofiles apparently. And I also use that if for example, I don't know, my counter doesn't do how I want it to behave, then I create this test files and use this as a minimal reproducible example. So my minimal example reproduces so that way. So that's what I generally recommend. Just keep removing stuff or commenting out stuff until it still breaks, right? And then you can see what is it related to and what is it not related to. Because debugging it in a machine where you got like 1500 files and a lot of counters, logic blocks, whatever, it's just not very much fun. A lot of events flying around. And if you do it you can even do like in a simple machine with just one file and test it there. So that's basically up to you. But that's what I would recommend. Yeah, that's so we got 1 hour now. Any more questions? I got some time and I got some tea. I was thinking about adding automatically stackable shows for shots. So if the light for shots from multi-ball other mode have to be on same time, switch between the two. Okay, I mean, yeah, the point is like stackable is always a little bit tricky. What do you mean by stackable? Usually we got like priorities, right? So if you run like 2 shows at the same time, only the higher priority show will actually be seen by the player. The other show will just basically run below, and it won't show on lights. So what do you mean by stackable? Do you want to run them like sequentially, or do you want to cancel the lower one? Because then it's not running, right? Something like Iron Maiden. I mean, yeah, that's actually what you get in MPF. So if you got 2 shows in 2 modes with different priorities, then you will only see the show of the top mode. However, if the if the lower mode has some lights which are not in the top mode, in the show of the top mode, then those will be obviously be seen. That's true. So what we could do is like, yeah, like I thought about that also. But like a show stack, right? Where you can say, well, play the top show only, so everything from the show would be only played. Yeah, it would actually be possible to build, and not super hard. It's more like how do we design the interface or the configuration for that. Yeah, well, it's a good idea. If you want that, we can design that. I think Brian wanted to do that. He called it Blinking Lights Player. you can search the issue in the MPF issue tracker. It still exists. But we actually never build it because nobody asked for it. It's usually we build stuff when somebody asks for it. But yeah, sure, chime in there and we can totally build it. It's not super hard. Yeah, I talk for an hour. I noticed it now. Can you show the issue tracker? Sure. The issue tracker is like here. So we got like 88 issues at the moment, and this is like the issue tracker and Lincoln lights. Okay. Yeah, great Lincoln lights player. It's something different. It's actually not that one. Okay, that's more like on one light, but yeah, then we do not have an issue for it. Let's see what we got on shows. No, we don't. No. Yeah, okay, but that's basically like what Lincoln Lights Player is intended to do. So like that you can say, I mean, you have to define that this light has like 5 slots, for example, and that red is always on the first slot, for example, because usually like on Iron Maiden, it's like if you got 3 shots in red, they will flash at the same time, right? Because they will be red, blue, green, whatever. And then there will be red, blue, off, red, blue, off. And this one will be just red, off, off, right? And so they will be like synchronized. But that's actually the idea which we had with the Blinker Lights player, which is something we came up when Brian was over here in Germany and we were having breakfast like down the road. I remember that. So yeah, I mean, totally. Let's do that. So it's totally doable. We can work on that. Yeah, like Quinn, you're right. So theoretically, you could also do that with a show somehow, like with conditions that would like work. So you could say, yeah, well, this like it's a show which has like 3 slots, first color, second, third, and then in the first slot it would be red if mode something is on. And then in the second slot it would be green if mode X is on, otherwise off or red. And then we just need like some priorities. But I guess it's easier to do in code, to be honest. But just to be yeah, right, it's just like that you got slots, right? Is it like 1 slot for this mode, 1 slot for this mode, 1 slot for this mode, 1 for this, or how does it actually work? Not 100% sure. So maybe if you know exactly how the logic works, please just comment it in the issue, so that we because it actually prevented me. I thought about it a little bit, but then I wasn't exactly sure how this logic worked. We didn't look at it for a long enough time. But that would help, like if to make a diagram how this logic works, and then imagine a config interface, how you would configure it and how you would use it. And then programming is just like, it's fast, it's half a day and it will work. But it's awesome. I like that we're discussing it here, because that's something which is often like, it's not hard to implement this stuff, but sometimes it's not trivial to like even find out how it exactly works. Unless you got like the machine at your home. And I don't have Iron Maiden at the moment. A friend has it, so I can go over there and play it, but I don't do that like that often, so that I won't go there and yeah, let me see how that works. Yeah, so it would be awesome if you could do that. Because yeah, as usual, you need a good specification to build stuff. Otherwise, it won't be great. Yeah. Any other questions? Any ideas, hints? Or remarks? Yeah, so then I would say thank you all. Have a great weekend. Build some pinball and stay healthy. Hope we can meet in person soon again, everybody. And yeah, I will be on air like Wednesday next week with either like unit testing machines or like steppers, but probably unit testing machines, because I want to do some more with steppers before I show them. And yeah, that have a great Saturday, have a great weekend, and see you next week.